Hello, Tony, your deck architect here, back on my channel once more with another deck profile. As hinted last week, the deck profile we will be covering this week will have us return once more to the Albaz saga to take another look at the Tribrigades. Or at least that would be the case had Konami not decided to drop a fresh ban list this week. Thus, instead of our regular scheduled Tribrigade programming, we interrupt this broadcast to bring you an update to the Dragunity deck. So post ban list, Dragunity is in an interesting place. While nowhere near as hurt by the list as its cousin Dragon Link with the limiting of Striker Dragon, the deck still experiences a hit with the banning of Guard Dragon Elpy. And while the deck is perfectly capable of functioning without Elpy, it does have some serious implications. See, Elpy's function in the deck was to commonly bolster your end board by summoning out any dragon from the hand or deck. This effect was not limited to just Dragunity dragons, and the monster summoned out had no limitations to its effects or stats. This meant that you could play off-brand dragon support like Amorphage Goliath and Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon without having them naturally conflict with the deck. Without Elpy though, Dragunity has very few reliable ways of making use of Goliath or Red MD consistently, and that drastically impacts your end boards. No longer can you effectively set up locks like the Goliath Lechery lock, nor can you make use of Red MD to extend. And that forces us to alter the deck to make use of more of the available Dragunity support to perform robust plays. And that's something I want to showcase as I get through the updated deck profile. Anyway, I've droned on enough. Without a further ado, let's get into the deck profile. Starting off our deck with the Dragon Riders once more, we still have our 3 Dragunity Senatus and 1 Dragunity Ducks for equipping Dragunity tuners, but we now have 2 Dragunity Legatus instead of our usual 3. After much testing, I realized that while Legatus is a great extender, it does brick at multiple. And while the idea of making a Dragunity synchro off of Legatus and a Remus sounds nice, in most cases you'll be using Legatus more to perform link plays. As a result of that, I ended up reducing the amount of Legatus to reduce the bricks that we have while still maintaining an ample amount such that it can extend with. Moving on to our Dragunity tuners, we continue to play the 3 Dragunity Remus and the 3 Dragunity Phalanx, but we now only have 1 Dragunity Koos. So with the loss of Elpy, the Dragunity deck has a decreased reliance on executing huge link plays, which in turn reduces the need to make Dragunity Barca to set up those plays. And since Koos was mostly used to get into Barca, but was otherwise a generally inferior synchro material to Phalanx, we can reduce the number of Koos we're playing such that we can still access Barca when necessary, but not too many that we might brick with it. But going briefly back to our Remus, Remus takes on a much greater focus in this updated list. As I had stated previously in my last profile of Dragunity, Dragon Ravine is a crucial component of our deck, and Remus is the easiest way to have access into it. As such, you'll come to find that we're playing more ways in this updated version to get into Remus, with the goal to maximize Remus to set up our plays as well as extend. Next up on our list is our Dragunity Armas, of which we're still playing the 3 Dragunity Arma Mistletoe, the 1 Dragunity Arma Levitine, but we now have 2 new additions in our 1 Dragunity Arma Gram as well as the related Tempest, Dragon Ruler of Storms. Both Tempest and Arma Gram can special summon themselves from the hand or graveyard by banishing 2 kinds of monsters, with Arma Gram requiring that you banish dragons and winged beasts, and Tempest requiring that you banish dragons and winds, which essentially amounts to any Dragunity monster as they're both wind and winged beast or dragon. Furthermore, Arma can negate the effects of 1 monster on the field and drop its attack by 1000 for each card equipped to a monster, while Tempest adds any winged dragon upon being banished. Functionally, Arma Gram and Tempest accomplish the same goal in the deck, acting as additional bodies that we can put onto the field by banishing already used resources. This not only gives us recurable bodies for continued extension, but also fantastic beaters in the late game. Both Arma Gram and Tempest pack respectable stats, and Gram even comes rocking with an effect to negate effects and weaken monsters, making them great sustainable offense past turn 1 to clear damage thresholds with. Furthermore, Tempest also has a decent searching effect for wind dragons like Remus when banished, either by something like Arma Gram or by other means, give you another outlet of consistency at any point in the game as well. Ultimately, both are included in this deck to boost the deck's natural ability to extend without linear combos, giving a level of robust flexibility to play around and through setbacks to ensure powerful boards and OTKs. Going then through our dragon support, we still retain the use of our 3 Odd Eyes Revolution Dragon, of which you can use to revive synchros and to search into the 1 Dark Worm, but we've also added a new target for its search in the 1 Chaos Emperor, the Dragon of Armageddon. Chaos Emperor, while in scale, can have you pay 1000 life and destroy itself to add 1 banished dragon to the hand. And while in the hand or X deck, it can special summon itself by banishing a light and dark from the graveyard. Now, Chaos Emperor may come off initially as a little weird, but I can assure you there are some very interesting interactions with this card and the Dragunity deck. Starting with the scale effect, it's important to note that Chaos Emperor adds any banished dragon, not just a light or dark one. This means that we can use it in conjunction with things like our Arma Gram and Tempest to add back a dragon formerly in the graveyard to our hand, netting us pseudo recovery. This also works with something like our Dragunity Remus, as Remus banishes itself when it leaves the field after it summons itself off of its own effect. Give you a neat way to add back Remus after extending with it to make continued use of it later on. Then, considering the monster effect, a majority of our Dragunity combos will have us go through both a light and a dark link. This ensures that there will be fodder in the graveyard to summon this card post-combo. And, like Arma Gram and Tempest, Chaos Emperor comes packing with a respectable stat line of 3000 attack, making him another powerful beater that you can access beyond your combo line to extend or attack with. This means that Chaos Emperor not only provides the deck decent recursion, but also extension as well, making it a flexible card with a number of uses for the Dragunity deck. Wrapping up the monsters, we have our 2 Mist Valley Baby Rock for our Guy Durg, the 1 Zephyros for bouncing, as well as the 1 Buster Sword once more. Given that we can no longer access a Morphage Goliath like before, Buster Sword becomes the premier means of locking out our opponent from the X deck. And given the prevalence of decks like Tribrigade and Drytron who frequently access the X deck, you're definitely going to want to access the Buster Lock to straight auto win those matchups. Going into the spells, we still have our 3 Dragon Ravine for consistency, the 3 Dragunity Glow to search into our Dragunity Armas, now with 1 more target in our Arma Gram, the 1 Dragunity Lance for more equip shenanigans, the 1 Monster Reborn as well as 1 Terraforming for additional setup and consistency, the 1 Call by the Grave for hand traps, as well as 3 new additions including 1 Goat's Sarcophagus to banish the Tempest for searching, as well as 2 triple tactical talents. With the way the format is shaping up, Dark Ruler No More is seeing less play due to the higher presence of hand traps and simple boards. Dragunity, being a deck that can play through multiple hand traps, can take advantage of a card like Triple Tactical Talents to either dig for more combo pieces or rip cards out of our opponent's hand that would threaten us later, providing the deck more ways to successfully stick a board for game. Wrapping things up with the extra deck, starting with our links, we have the 2 Dragunity Romulus to search into our Dragunity spell support, the 1 Pisty for our remaining Guard Dragons, the 1 Triple Burst Dragon to enable our Pisty, the 1 Buster Whelp to dump our Buster Sword into the graveyard, the 1 Spheres for additional bouncing and disruption, as well as the 1 Darkest Metal Dragon, of which you can use at times to summon back a monster to make more synchro end boards. Then going into the synchros, we have the 1 Vajrayana for synchro climbing, the 1 Guy Durg for our combos, the 1 Barca for our link plays, the 1 Crystal Wing as well as the 1 Savage for our negates, as well as the 1 Arita Bear for banishing and negation as well. Finally, finishing it off, we have the 1 Hieratic Dragon of a Tomb, of which we can still use like Elpy to summon dragons from the deck, as well as the 1 newly added Trishla Dragon of Icy Imprisonment, of which we can banish 3 dragons to make to banish a Tempest from our deck to get a search off. Now it's at this point that we once again reach the combo component of our deck profile. And, fortunately for us, the end boards that Dragunity produces post-Banlist aren't that different from what they were pre-Banlist. Outside of a few changes to the combo to accommodate for the lack of Elpy, the deck is still perfectly capable of producing boards of minimum Borreload Savage, Crystal Wing, and Buster Lock. So, for the sake of not being repetitive, I'm only going to be doing 1 test hand today. With that being said, the deck is shuffled, the cards are ready, let us begin. So the hand that we're going to be working with this week is going to consist of 1 Mistletoe, 1 Remus, a second Remus, that's a little awkward, 1 Legatus, as well as 1 Arma Gram. Okay, so this hand is a little interesting. By virtue of opening the Remus alone, we have access into Dragon Ravine, and Dragon Ravine gives us access to full combo. However, we also did open Arma Gram, and that gives us some very interesting options of how we want to build that combo that I'm rather excited to showcase. So let's see what we can do. I'm going to start by activating this Remus, discarding it from my hand to add a Dragon Ravine from my deck to my hand. From there, I'm then going to activate that Dragon Ravine, and using Dragon Ravine's effect, I'm going to pitch the other Remus in my hand to add one Dragunity monster that's level 4 or lower from my deck to my hand, of which I'll add the Senatus. I'm then going to normal summon the Senatus and use Senatus' effect, discarding the Arma Gram in my hand to equip one Dragunity tuner from my deck to my Senatus, of which I'll then equip the one of Koos lying in my deck. Now that Koos is on the equip, I'm going to special summon it and then synchro summon with the Senatus to summon out our main playmaker in our Dragunity Knight Guy Durg. We'll activate Guy Durg's effect now, adding a level 4 or lower winged beast or dragon from our deck to our hand, of which I'll add a Phalanx and then discard said Phalanx. Since I control a Dragunity monster, I can then special summon out the Legatus, of which I'll then link with the Guy Durg to summon out our Romulus. Once Romulus is summoned, we can then add a Dragunity spell card from our deck to the hand, of which I'll add the Glow, and then I'll activate the Glow to add a second Mistletoe from my deck to my hand. It realistically doesn't matter what we add, but it's the idea that we get the Glow into the graveyard. From there, I'm going to tribute the Romulus to special summon out the Mistletoe, and then Mistletoe will re-equip the Guy Durg. Now this combo might be familiar. We're going to banish the Glow to special summon out the Guy Durg, and we're going to activate Guy Durg's effect, now adding our Zephyros from our deck to the hand, and then sending it to the graveyard. From there, we have two level 6s, so we'll overlay both of these level 6s to summon out our Tomb, of which will then detach the Guy Durg once more, then special summon a dragon from our deck, of which will then summon out our main playmaker for the rest of the game in our one Dragunity Arma Ravine. Once Ravine is summoned, it will then re-equip one of my Dragunity tuners in my Koos, and then I'll special summon out the Koos. From there, I'll bounce back the Dragon Ravine for the effect of our Zephyros, special summoning the Zephyros onto the field, of which I'll then reactivate the Dragon Ravine, and using Dragon Ravine's effect, I'm going to discard that remaining Mistletoe, but this time I'm actually going to send a dragon from my deck to the graveyard, of which I'll send the Tempest. From there, I'm going to link both of these two monsters, the Tomb and the Ravine, away to summon out our Buster Whelp, and Buster Whelp will then allow me to send the Destruction Sword from my deck to the graveyard. Now the Destruction Sword is in the graveyard, we'll then synchro summon with the Zephyros and the Koos as a level 4 to summon out our Barca once again, with Barca now re-equipping the Koos alongside the Phalanx in our graveyard, as well as one of the Romuluses. From there, since we now control a Dragunity monster, we can then also special summon out one of the Remuses lying in our graveyard. We'll then also special summon out the Koos, and then we're going to link away the Koos to summon out the remaining Guard Dragon and the Pisty, before then linking away the Remus alongside the Buster Whelp to summon out our Triple Burst. Now that Triple Burst and Pisty point to the same zone, we can activate Pisty's effect, of which will then bring back the Guy Durg in our graveyard. Now, to free us from the dragon restriction that Pisty gives, we're then going to link away the Triple Burst alongside the Pisty to summon out our Darksteel. We're then going to activate the effect of Guy Durg, and we're going to add a Mist Valley Baby Rock, discarding the Mist Valley Baby Rock to special summon the Mist Valley Baby Rock, of which will then synchro with the Guy Durg to summon out our first negate in our Crystal Winged Dragon. From there, we're then going to activate the effect of the Arma Gram that we opened with so long ago, this case banishing the Mist Valley Baby Rock, as well as the Tempest to special summon itself onto the field. And since Tempest was banished, I can now add a Wind Dragon from my deck to hand, of which I'll add the last Mistletoe. And since Mistletoe is not once per turn, we can then send the Arma Gram to the graveyard to special summon the Mistletoe, of which Mistletoe will then trigger to re-equip one of our Dragunity tuners, of which will re-equip the Koos. We'll then special summon out the Koos, as well as special summon out the Phalanx, and then synchro summon with the Mistletoe as well as the Phalanx to summon out our second negate in our Boardload Savage Dragon. Boardload Savage Dragon will then re-equip the Triple Burst and gain 3 counters. From there, we're then going to activate the effect of our Darksteel to summon back the Guy Durg once more. And Guy Durg, alongside the Koos trading as a level 4 with the Guy Durg going back into the X deck, we're then going to summon out our remaining negate in our Drita Bear. And to then wrap things up, we're then going to banish the Dragunity Knight Barca equipped with a Romulus, to then summon back the Ravine for a final time, of which Ravine will then trigger to equip the Buster Sword thus buster locking our opponent, of which will then pass turn to our opponent. So let's once again do a quick head count here. Like previous Dragunity end boards, and as I had promised, we did end up on a Crystal Wing as well as a Boardload Savage alongside the Buster Lock. But we also ended up on a Redrita Bear for an additional negate, as well as the Dark Steel on the field for 2800 points of damage. And the only real difference between this board and previous Dragunity end boards was that we were lacking the Hieratic Spheres for the bounce. However, I would argue that this board actually has a lot more long-term longevity than our previous boards. Not only can Darksteel bring back another monster of which we can do beat down with, but we also have an Arma Gram in the graveyard as well, of which we can then banish 2 dragons to put itself onto the field for more damage. Finally, we still have the Dragon Ravine, in which we could discard whatever we draw on the following turn to then search into a Dux, of which we could then go into another Synchro play, giving us essentially another full board in the following turn to OTK with. And that's going to do it for our Dragunity deck profile. So, what are my final thoughts on the deck? Well, I think the deck is definitely very powerful and extremely functional. Despite losing Elpy and some of its combo potential, the deck has clearly demonstrated that it could circumvent that weakness by playing other cards to produce the same powerful end board. And with Dragonlink currently being neutered as it is, this might be the next best option. With that being said though, do I think the deck can be meta? Well, kinda. You see, while the deck is still very powerful and capable of playing through hand traps, it does lose to one of the commonly played hand traps at the moment, that being Drone Lockbird. And given the prevalence of decks like Drytron in the meta right now, you're more than likely going to see Drone Lockbird in the main deck, which can ruin some of your games. With that being said though, I still think the deck right now is only skimming the surface of what it can be. This is only a preliminary development of this deck that I've come up with, but I think in further experimentation, this deck can evolve further to play through things like that as well. And I definitely look forward to seeing what players like you guys can come up with in the future and how it can top. Regardless though, this has been Tony, your deck architect here with a Dragunity deck profile updated for the new ban list. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time.